Cameron. I'm so excited to be talking with you all today. I'm sure you're hearing a lot of sessions, so I hope you're getting as much out of it as you can. So today, I just want to really introduce myself and talk about the importance of building inclusion and equity within your teams, within your businesses, not just in the products that you are creating and pushing out. So a little bit about me. My role is an Equity Centered UX Strategist within the financial space. And what that essentially means is how I like to explain my job is if you take D&I and you put it together with UX or user experience or design, and you merge those two together, it becomes this beautiful marriage of my role. And so a lot of my role is seeing how we can create more equitable products within this digital space, within the financial industry. But as I have morphed into this role, I'm seeing that it's not just about the importance of the products and the customer base and the target audience that we are ensuring things are more inclusive and equitable, but also for our very employees that are working at the companies we're, creating these solutions for, and seeing that, our internal company, our internal teams are reflecting the very nature of what we're trying to produce. So a few things. I have only been in this role for a few months, but a lot of my work outside of that, before I jumped into this role, was very outreach focused. I did a lot of work surrounding Black design students and prepping them for the industry and really trying to see what that space was like. And a lot of it was, me learning from other people and people helping me to where I am, and the importance of community building and togetherness and learning from each other's experiences and kind of bringing that together into my work. So with that being said, a lot of that comes into learning my lived experience. And as I jumped into this corporate world and understanding the nuances and navigating through all this space, you really start to learn all the ins and outs of what things are, what things aren't, and the realities of what it is. And so, as I said before, you have these companies that are trying to push out, especially within the past couple of years, with the Black Lives Matter movement, with all these things about the importance of pushing inclusion and equity. It's become this washed out word, this washed out meaning, because really it's about the numbers. How can, it's about the business. How can we make this money? And, within that, you're extorting and you're, kind of exhausting, your employees, the very people you're trying to push to create these products. And so, you start to look not just from an external standpoint, but the internal standpoint, and how companies are losing the understanding of, okay, not just your customers, but you also need to focus on the safety and trust and care of the employees. So I want to dive into a couple of things that I want to key out, and then I want to be able to give you some key things to sort of walk away from and really pay attention to as you are in this space and, wanting to create businesses and companies of your own. And as a Black woman, for me, I experienced so many different situations. Me being young, for one, adds on to the fold of me being a Black woman and people not thinking that I'm capable of doing my job. So there is that push of having to essentially prove myself, which I am, kind of assuming that is probably a lot of people's situations and experience. A lot of people can relate to that, or feeling like you're the only one, feeling like you're not really good enough for this space, even though you probably have the credentials and you can probably do that job better than anybody else. Or, feeling alone and feeling like you really don't have that support or the resources or even the safety net to, take risk where you feel like it's needed. And so in being that, whether it's, you're seeing that on the entry level side that you've experienced, or you've seen it as you began to move up the ladder and you're like, I can't do this anymore. I'm leaving. I want to create my own. I want to be my own boss, which is essentially why a lot of people leave companies because of that very reason, because it's not about the work. It's really about how they're treated. It's really about how they're able to show up and how they're taken seriously. And so that's essentially what I want to talk about today. Some few pointers is the importance of, one, not being left out. If you remember that feeling, if you remember what you felt like when you weren't included in meetings, when you were gaslit, and when you were disregarded, when you were set aside and ignored, whether it be in meetings, whether it be on one-on-ones, whether it was your voice not being heard, whether it was your ideas not being recognized or even taken seriously. All of those factor into you feeling safe and trusting of the place that you're working at. And so what I want to kind of put out or kind of stress today is that the importance of you not replicating that same behavior that you experience. So when you're creating your businesses and you're beginning to sort of hire, people onto your team, is that you remember what that felt like. You remember the very feeling of you sort of being the only one, or you being the ostracized one, and really stepping back and thinking of where you were at and giving your employees, giving the people that are working for you what you didn't have. And that's where inclusion and equity comes into play. Because oftentimes when we get into these positions of power, it's very easy to lose that. It's very easy to forget. And so, oftentimes you do need a reminder. And that's one of the key things that I want you to remember is the importance of remembering what it felt like to be left out, and then giving your employees, the people that are working with you and for you, what you didn't have and what you didn't get. And so, again, we talk about the importance of producing inclusion, right? And sending out, equitable solutions that, are beneficial for all, but not forgetting the importance of creating the actual inclusion within the company. So we talk about, I also want to bring up, you need to live in your practice and your principles and your values, right? So a lot of times we have companies that come out with, or you see on their websites, they have these amazing missions, amazing values and principles, but do they live by it? And a lot of times, again, like I said, it's why a lot of people leave, why a lot of times things do fail, whether it be, the actual solutions and what you're creating, or even just the people aspect, the culture. Your culture has to be, impactful. It can't just be your solutions being impactful, but the culture that you're trying to create and cultivate, the environment, it has to be safe and trusting. And if you are, high level saying that you live by these values, live by these principles, you have to also ask yourself, are we living by it in our day-to-day? Are we living by it in our meetings, our one-on-ones, our group talks, our team gatherings? Is that showing up in the conversations that we are having on a day-to-day? And if that's a no, then maybe we need to reevaluate how and what our values are. And, if we even align with those values that we started with from the very beginning, but also making sure that when you're in those meetings, are you grounding yourself back on the values and the principles, the foundational elements that got you started in the very beginning? And if not, then you're saying, okay, maybe this is something we shouldn't be doing because it's not aligning of who we are and what we're trying to produce as a company, as a culture. And when you are able to align yourself to those things, it sort of puts yourself in a space where you're able to stay grounded. And so those are some key things. And moving on to, like I said, do not become who you hate. Do not forget where you were and where you were trying to go. And like I said, remembering that feeling and tying it back to what you live by. And reminding yourself every day to be able to give what you didn't get. So a few solutions to that I really want to really focus on and give. Something that I actually was able to work on with some teams myself and actually put this into practice. And it can be fun. It can be an open and honest conversation that can also be engaging and inviting. And you want to be able to set the tone, because oftentimes you tell your employees, you tell people that you work with, I want you to be honest with me. I want you to, tell me like it is. But oftentimes, do we really mean it? Do we really mean it? Because oftentimes people do not want to hear the truth. And if you set the tone to be like, there are no repercussions, this is a no judgment zone. This is a space where you can let me know what those risks are without there being consequences for that person telling the honest truth and giving that honest feedback of the reality of what it is. Then you can have an open space, an open dialogue to have real honest feedback that you may be trying to look for from your employees or people that you work with. And so, and honestly, I know that we're talking about, simply teams, but that same mantra, that same idea should also work for, your actual target audience, the customers you're serving. If you are not looking for honest feedback, if you are not wanting to get the honest feedback, do not ask for it. Do not ask for it. So I say this in saying that you have to start to set that foundation to create that trust, to create that safety. Because a lot of times, just like everyone else, we've been through very traumatizing situations and work environments, and that have often left us very reluctant to express, very reluctant to feel comfortable to be ourselves and, really be or express exactly what may need to be done. So by you setting that tone and being different than your own experiences, you're able to give someone an opportunity to maybe finally open and vocalize who they are and vocalize, in a space where they can actually breathe. And I think that's the important part. And being excited to go to work every day and be excited to actually be a part of something bigger than themselves. Because one thing I always want to add, and then I've expressed to other teams that I've worked in, is like, you can't create inclusive or equitable products, or it doesn't matter what target audience you're working for. It doesn't even matter if your target audience is catered to people of color, the Black community. If your very employees do not feel the same, if they're not feeling included, if they're not feeling like this is a safe environment, how can you create inclusive products when your environment, the very culture, does not reflect that? And they're not going to want to create solutions because they don't feel welcomed in the solution themselves, in the room where it happens. And so we talk about having a seat at the table, giving a seat at the table. But if you're in the far right corner, ostracized and completely disregarded, and your voice isn't being heard, Does having a seat really matter? So we have to really ask ourselves these questions on a daily and making sure we're doing a self-awareness check, and we're really making sure that we're welcoming just as much as we're expecting everyone else to be. So I want to go through a couple of things that I think may help, that I've actually done in a couple of works. But as I said before, building trust and safe environments is so key. And so as we dive into a few of those things, briefly covering, like, building equity within teams is starting out with these 4 stages of psychological safety. We talk about the inclusion safety, learner safety, contributor safety, and challenger safety. Now, what all those things mean, you may have not exactly heard what those things are. This may be the first time you've heard what it is, but you've probably heard some examples of what they are in your everyday situations. And so we talk about inclusion safety as, again, we've talked about it for the past couple of minutes, of having a seat at the table and being welcomed at that table, not just being given the seat and you still being ignored. So that's sort of opening that space and welcoming that space, listening, hearing, understanding. It's all a part of that inclusion safety. When we dive into learner safety, that's a whole nother space, is giving the openness and utmost space to truly allow your employee to explore, to expand their knowledge, to ask questions. There have been times and situations where a person may have asked their manager or, their supervisor or whatever that may be, ask them a question and they immediately turn them down, or they say they're asking too many questions. So in their mind, psychologically, they're going to draw back, and they're probably never going to ask questions again. They're probably never going to ask you for help. So you being open and saying, hey, if you need anything, if you have any questions, feel free to ask, feel free to come to me. If you're confused about something, if you want to expand, if you want to learn more about things, we can see if we can find the resources. We can see if we can help. And if you're opening that door, it will allow them to be like, yeah, I do want to explore. I do want to venture out. I do want to expand my knowledge. And then that knowledge will turn into them learning and creating better solutions and adding more to the team. And we dive into contributor safety. So this is something that I've seen shown up, especially Black women in higher positions, people of color in higher positions. They do have a position of power, or they were assigned a role and, a job at a company, and they're simply disregarded, maybe due to racism, sexism, ageism, young or old, and they're experiencing systemic oppression. And so it doesn't allow them to do the actual job that they were hired for. And they feel like, okay, well, why am I here? Why was I hired for this job if people are constantly questioning me for the very thing that I was hired for? My credentials, my age, the fact that I'm a woman, the fact that I'm a Black woman. So you add on all those things, and that all ties into why a person may want to leave that role, may want to leave the company, may want to feel like they're just not welcomed. And then lastly, we jump into challenger safety. Does a person feel safe to challenge the status quo, to bring up risks that may be detrimental to the company? Understanding that everything is not going to be all positive, but knowing that exposing those risks and naming what those risks are and the problems that may need to be uncovered allows you to do better, especially if it's in the front end, because it's a lot better to expose those risks and problems in the front end than exposing it in the back end, when it's probably going to cost you a lot more money. So allowing your employees or team to talk about issues and the negative parts, those bad parts that you may not want to talk about in the meetings, and allowing them to feel really safe and comfortable to discuss those things will allow you to probably expand to the best next solution. And it doesn't even have to be that there are problems, but it could be an alternative solution that that team member thinks may be better. And by you automatically shutting it down, like, nope, this is not how we've done it. I've done it this way. This is how we've always done it. You've robbed someone of an opportunity to vocalize not only a possible best solution, but you probably could have also lost a great team member. So think about those things when it comes to the 4 stages of psychological safety. And I reiterated those: inclusion safety, learner safety, contributor safety, and challenger safety. And so as we dive into it, I really want to also stress the importance of constantly doing a self-awareness check, a self-reflection check, something that probably a therapist would tell you, something that even myself is working on, and understand that you're not always the expert. And sometimes you got to dial yourself back and do a little me check and realize that sometimes you got to take a step back, analyze yourself, and really think about how you are showing up and how you can better your team, better yourself to better your team, and to create an environment that everyone is a collective and is sharing this space together, sharing the power together. And so, you know, I really want you to think about those things as you're creating those businesses and companies, is that doing that check, doing that awareness check allows you, and allowing the entire team to do that self-awareness check, brings it back to togetherness, brings it back to the fact that we are all on one accord. And then it ties back to, I want to show up to work every day. I want to be a part of something that is bigger than myself. And if we look at those things, then we are essentially creating something better than what we had. Thank you.
So good. I'm thrilled that we have Zariah here with us to further unpack this over the next 5 minutes, because what we need to understand, y'all, is that entrepreneurship is not equivalent to leadership. Entrepreneurship is not equivalent to leadership. And you very well can be a very bad leader, right? If you're not thinking about how you're treating your Fiverr people that you contract, if you're not thinking about how you treat the people, the cousins even, that are doing free labor for you, right? Like, everything she said was so sobering, because we are so used to looking at others, right? They don't look like us, right? And then when we get in the position of leader, we do not know how to tactically have emotional intelligence and tactically to empathize with people that don't look like us. And it's so important. If our names are going to be household names, if we're going to take up space on the globe, then we have to sharpen ourselves from a leadership perspective and not be performative. We need to care about what people are saying behind our backs, our employees. Zariah, thank you so much, Mama. So much wisdom from you, Mama.
Thank you so much. I'm glad everyone got to hear my perspective and hear what I had to say, and I hope that it was helpful.
Yeah, I think definitely. I don't think I know for me as a Black woman, I'm not always in the hot seat for that. I'm used to, putting other people in the hot seat and saying we need more, but you turned the lens and had us, I don't know, like, oh, I do know, right? Like, ask ourselves those same critical questions, and who we might be. Dang, you used a phrase. Somebody dropped it in the chat. You robbed them. Oh, that struck a chord. You robbed them of an opportunity to speak. Any questions for Zariah, comments, etc.? Y'all can hit the hand button at the bottom and raise your hand if you want to come on stage. We have time for about 1 or 2. All right, Aaliyah, I'm bringing you up, Mama.
I know I talk so much, y'all, but that's my thing. I like talking and connecting with Black women. I'm so happy to be a part of this today. I'm going to cancel all my obligations for the rest of this week because I need to show up to be here every day, all day. And I feel like God go put me in a better position by Sunday than I'm in right now. So I'm here. I'm for this. But Zariah, yes, you touched some very great points. And that's just me as a person, just related to other people. I always want to make them feel included because I know how it feels to be the ghetto girl, to be, oh, are you from the trenches, to be, people don't make you feel included, or they feel like your opinion doesn't add anything. But experience is exposure, and exposure gives you the quality that you bring to any table you're at. I can be the poorest person in the room, but I have rich values. I have things that money can't buy. So I definitely like that you said robbing people of the opportunity to just, bring themselves to the table. Like, being you is your superpower. Nobody can do it better than you can. Don't try to mimic anything else. So creating those safe spaces, being able to trust, and, feeling like another Black woman opened the door for you. She crawled in it, but she opened the door for you to walk in. And that's the kind of connection that I want to make, and the kind of impact that I want to have on women. So I'm inspired by everything that you said, and I thank you for bringing that to us. And you also look beautiful. I really love the hair.
Thank you
Hey,
so much.
thank you, Aaliyah. Super dope. That girl got power right there. So good. I'm gonna put this on the stage because it's powerful. I think the reflections, the introspection that you're sparking, Zariah, is so powerful. Shayla said, speak up at any job to let people know your business doesn't discriminate against anyone. Listen, that is so good, y'all. Like, the same way we were sitting watching who was going to say something for Black Lives Matter, you entrepreneur, you founder are in the same seat. Your employees are looking at you to see if you give a damn, truly, about their causes, their issues, their discrimination, etc. So good. Okay, we got a hop, y'all. I see a question.
Oh,
Ooh,
please, honestly, if you have any questions, literally just message me. Like, my Instagram was here, on the thing. So definitely DM me, message me, connect with me. If you're on LinkedIn, definitely message me. You can find me just on my name, my first and last name.
super dope. And before you go, Zariah, I want to give you your flowers. Jazz says, Zariah, you did what needed to be done as a DEI practitioner. I love seeing folks committed to the work, educate in ways that resonate for the masses. Ashe, you did a beautiful job. You did a beautiful job. And I'm not going to assume what generation you are, but you made your generation proud, sis. You are educating the masses. So beautiful job.
Well, that certainly means a lot. You all made my day, for sure. But like I said, if you want to connect, definitely open to it on Instagram, LinkedIn. I'm on both platforms. And if you want to work with me, definitely open to that as well.
Super dope. Thank you so much. So much, Zariah. All right, y'all. We're going to hop to the next session. We're getting towards the end of the day. So I want to say this now. Because some of y'all been rocking for a lot of sessions, right? Even if it's just as many as me. The next session is quite literally going to blow your mind. I would say if you love what Tina did, you're going to love what Marie does. She's going to teach you about AI. Literally artificial intelligence that you can use for your business. You, Black woman. Okay. So, yeah. So I would definitely say attend that because, again, the June summits, while we don't want you tired, right? And that's what we make sure we understand in December. We do want you to level up in June, right? So you're going to get a lot of meat and potatoes in this. The next session is wild. It is about artificial intelligence. And then after that, I just want to put this plug just in case people are winding down, right? After that, y'all, I'm going to tee up what Kiva.org is here to do today, okay? I'm going to tee it up because I personally, as an ex-banker, as a person who capes hard for Black folk on the continent today in finance, I personally trust them with the Blaze community. I trust them with Black women, and they're literally here in their booth. Like, they are literally here. Like, the leaders of the U.S. operations are here to talk to you. Okay, I'm going to talk to y'all more about that after this next session. But I need y'all, and I'm going to say it again later. I'm just saying this to people who's about to log off. I need y'all to flood their booth and turn your video on and have conversations and ask, because this is your money. This is your money. They're literally here to talk to you, Black woman. Okay. All right. I'm about to go. I'll see y'all on the other side. Some of y'all leaving. You know, I get it, but I just want to tell y'all what the last 2 sessions are today. It's meat and potatoes. And then we closing it out. But I'll see y'all on the other side. Peace.